is a passage in Genesis so brief, so cryptic, that scholars have debated its meaning for thousands of years. It reads that the sons of God saw that the daughters of men, found them beautiful, and took them as wives. From these unions came the Nephilim, beings described as giants, heroes of old, men of renown. And then, almost as quickly as they appear, the text moves on. No explanation, no origin story, no resolution, just a shadow cast across the ancient world and a question left hanging in the air. Who were the Nephilim? Where did they come from? And why does the Bible say so little about them? The answer, it turns out, may lie in a book that was deliberately left out of the biblical canon, the Book of Enoch. This ancient text, attributed to the great-grandfather of Noah, does not gloss over the Nephilim. It confronts them directly, names their fathers, describes their crimes, and reveals what Genesis chose to leave in silence. To understand the full story, you have to go beyond the pages of the Bible and into one of the most controversial and fascinating texts ever written. Before diving into what the Book of Enoch actually says, it helps to understand who Enoch was and why his name carries such weight. In Genesis, Enoch is mentioned only briefly. He lived 365 years, walked with God, and then was not, because God took him. That single line has fascinated theologians for centuries. Unlike every other figure in that genealogy, Enoch did not die in the conventional sense. He was taken, translated, removed from the earth while still alive. That kind of exit from the mortal world gave Enoch a unique authority in the ancient imagination. He was seen as someone who had access to divine knowledge, someone who had walked in realms beyond human experience. It is no surprise then that a body of literature grew up around his name. The Book of Enoch, also known by its Ethiopian title as First Enoch, is a collection of texts likely compiled between the 3rd century before the Common Era and the 1st century of the Common Era. It was widely read in the ancient Jewish and early Christian worlds. Fragments of it were found among the Dead Sea Scrolls, confirming its deep roots in Second Temple Judaism. The early church father Tertullian quoted it approvingly. The New Testament letter of Jude even references it directly, and yet, despite all of this, it was eventually excluded from the canon of both Judaism and mainstream Christianity. What it contains is too detailed, too strange, and too specific to be easily absorbed into Orthodox theology. The Book of Enoch opens up the cryptic Genesis passage and fills it with names, motivations, and consequences. In Enoch's telling, the sons of God are not metaphors or poetic expressions. They are a specific class of divine beings called the Watchers, angels assigned to observe and guide humanity. 200 of them, led by a figure named Semyaza, made a pact on a mountain called Hermon. They swore an oath together and descended to earth with a singular purpose: to take human women as their own. The text is explicit about the transgression. These were beings who abandoned their proper station, who crossed a boundary that was never meant to be crossed, and the consequences were immediate and catastrophic. The Watchers did not simply intermarry with humanity, they also began teaching forbidden knowledge. One Watcher named Azazel is singled out for particular condemnation. He taught men how to make weapons of war, swords, shields, and breastplates. He taught women the arts of cosmetics and ornamentation, which the text frames as a kind of seduction that led to widespread moral corruption. Other Watchers taught sorcery, astrology, the cutting of roots, and the reading of omens. In the Book of Enoch's worldview, much of what is wrong with the world traces back to this moment, not just the mixing of divine and human bloodlines, but the premature disclosure of knowledge that humanity was not ready to receive. From the union of the Watchers and human women came the Nephilim, and the Book of Enoch describes them in terms that go far beyond what Genesis offers. They were giants. The text gives their height as 3,000 cubits in some manuscripts, a number so extreme that many scholars treat it as symbolic rather than literal, representing something monstrous and beyond natural proportion. These beings consumed everything. They devoured the food supply of humanity, then turned to eating humans themselves, and then to drinking blood. The earth cried out against them. The violence they unleashed was total and unrelenting. But the story of the Nephilim does not end with the flood. This is where the Book of Enoch introduces a concept that Genesis never mentions at all. When the Nephilim were killed, when their giant bodies perished, their spirits did not simply cease to exist. According to Enoch, the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim became what we would call demons. They were condemned to wander the earth, unable to ascend to the heavens, unable to find rest, and driven to afflict, mislead, and corrupt humanity until the final judgment. This is a remarkable theological claim. It offers an origin story for evil spirits that is entirely absent from the Hebrew Bible as it was canonized. It answers a question that the Old Testament never directly addresses. Where do demons come from? According to Enoch, they are the restless ghosts of a destroyed hybrid race, still haunting the world that their fathers corrupted. Understanding why the Book of Enoch was excluded from the biblical canon requires understanding what the canonization process was actually trying to accomplish. Both the Jewish rabbinical councils and the later Christian church councils were engaged in a project of defining boundaries, drawing clear lines around what was authoritative, what was inspired, and what was too speculative or too mythologically elaborate to be included in a sacred text meant to guide communities across centuries. The Book of Enoch presented several problems. Its cosmology was complex and layered in ways that did not fit neatly into the emerging theological frameworks. Its account of angelic rebellion raised uncomfortable questions about the nature of divine sovereignty, and its demonology, the idea that the spirits of the Nephilim were still active in the world, was the kind of claim that could easily fuel folk religion, superstition, and practices that religious authorities wanted to discourage. So the book was set aside, but it was never truly forgotten. The Dead Sea Scrolls community at Qumran treated it as scripture. Ethiopian Orthodox Christianity includes it in its biblical canon to this day. And in the modern world, the Book of Enoch has experienced a remarkable revival of interest, not just among theologians and scholars, but among ordinary people who sense that the official story has gaps that this ancient text was written to fill. The Nephilim question is ultimately a question about the nature of evil, the boundaries between the divine and the human, and what happens when those boundaries are violated. Genesis raises the question in a single paragraph and walks away. The Book of Enoch stays in the room. It names the angels who fell, describes the chaos they unleashed, and traces the consequences all the way down to the present age. Whether you read it as literal history, as ancient mythology, or as theological allegory, it offers something that the canonical text deliberately withholds: a complete picture of a story that has haunted human imagination since the earliest days of recorded religion. The giants may be gone, but the questions they left behind have never stopped echoing.